Don't see what that does. Don't want to make a YouTube short. Just having a wee look at stuff. Let's have a look at that. Do you want a green screen? Go on then. Let's see what the green screen does. I think it's making it a lot slower. Yeah. And I can chuck a picture of a bus in the background apparently. So do you see the bus? I just see green. So there's a picture of a bus there, right? Hello bus. Hello. Right. There's an email to tell me that I've started. I don't know why it needs to email me to tell me that I'm live. I know I'm fucking live. Okay, this green screen thing's fucking irritating. Making everything low. Frame rate. Hello, CC. So now we have someone here. I'm going to do the little intro. Hey up, everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. And today, later on today, I'm going to be going into the studio. For some reason, someone has let me into their studio to record a new album, right? And so I'm coming up with ideas for it, particularly for this long song that I want to do. Hello, Gary Stubbs. So yeah, the idea I have is to make a 20-minute long sort of epic kind of suite, kind of taking a bit of a mix of inspirations, right? So far, the ones I have the idea for is Shine You Crazy Diamond. So you know how the start of Shine You Crazy Diamond is this long, ambient kind of thing. It's very serene. So I'm playing Shine You Crazy Diamond in the background now, okay? This is quite nice, right? So imagine something like this. I think a bit more airy. This is a bit more, ooh, I want a bit more like, right? And as we go on, you can hear like there's little like, I don't know if you probably can't hear it through this, but you know how Shiny Crazy Diamond goes, right? There's little kind of little things before the, you know, the main bit that comes in, which is something like. So before that happens, there's all this stuff. And then there's that little lead line, right? So you see how it's starting off very slow. We're a minute in, and this goes on to like 3 minutes in. I want to build out a sound, a very small beginning, because I want this to be quite a long song. There you go. And then it does that, right? So I want it to start off like that. And so what we're going to be doing, I'm going to write on this bit of text. So the song is called Big Word, right? So, want to battle? No. And also, go away with your bloody report for terrorism. Bye. There we are. So, right. I report everything for terrorism, by the way. I don't really bother to look at the thing. I just kind of enjoy it. So, yeah. The way I think of it is we're going to have a first little section, which we're going to call the ambient section. Right. Bellow from the bowling alley. So yeah, this is the first bit. A similar sort of song, right? Has the same kind of thing. It's another long song. Is Octavarium, right? It's got this. We're not playing the fucking proggy bit right now. But a very similar kind of idea, right? Ambient. This is a bit more airy, but you get the kind of idea, right? So you kind of understand Geo per days, the guy who goes around putting the N-word in this chat goes, "I report you." Okay, enjoy that. Right, so we're gonna have this sort of intro that's very slow, okay? And I then want something along the lines of a bit of a slow build up with the drums. I'm really irritated, right? Because I spent like an hour, right, in Reaper making the first 4 minutes of this. I had a G chord just droning out, right, with the odd little sprinkle of the Lydian tonic note, the fourth, right? So I had a little bit of that going through. So it was making a really nice soundscape, and I was getting ready to sort of do some guitar over it, like a droning, very reverberated guitar where each singular note just goes on forever, sort of thing. And then I could manipulate the knobs on the effects pedals to get some weird sounds out of it. And that was going to be the idea, just droning on these Gs to see where we could, make some kind of, what's the word? Is it timbre? Do you pronounce it timbre? You certainly don't pronounce it timber, right? But you have that kind of thing going through, just building out this sound. And I was doing that, and the way I had it was that there was this slow drum thing that would come in, but it would kind of fade in, right, very subtly, and get a bit more intense as it kind of went on. So the ambient section slowly turns into a crescendo, right? And then that crescendo pays off in a sort of cliffhanger sort of sense. You know, when you kind of have like dun 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 dun, right? I've not paid that off. Now it just drops back down to silence with a ride cymbal going out, right? So we're gonna next put that in. So we're gonna put introduce crescendo. We will be with you a metal bar for that fag hair. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a positive comment or not. So yeah, we're going to introduce the crescendo slowly after that, right? And then it needs to drop off this cliff, right? So we're building up down the cliff, right? And then, and I'm just using these songs as like little nuggets of ideas, right? This one, I just want the idea of the drums. I meant what I thought you meant. Oh, well. Let me find this. So there's this really, I don't know if you can hear it, but like, boom, 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 that kind of very slow drum. So we're going to call that slow drums, right? And plus, I'd say acoustic guitar, I think, would work there. So maybe some kind of, let's see what we can do with a tonic note. It's hard to get it around the lavmite. So I want to think about my tonic note. It's also tickling me, that. Fuck it. So my tonic note is down here. So that's my tonic. So I want to find a better version of that tonic. So where could I go? I could go there, right? So say if I did something like, I'm trying to make it work. No, that sounds fucking terrible. Maybe. I think it's because I'm doing that as well. So if I muted that. So the way I think about it, right, you'd have that slow ambient section, and you have like dum 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 dum. And I like the idea that crescendo bit could get quite thick and intense, right? Before closing out on the cliffhanger, right? And that's when what we'll call the verse chorus sort of section starts. Oh, I just put them on top messages rather than all the messages. Why are the comments today so dumb? You look racist. I don't even understand what that means. It's just the laziest fucking stuff. So something like that. I want a drone, but I don't want it to sound quite so happy. I want some tension to it. I know. So let me think about G Lydian chords. I'm just Googling chords in G Lydian, right? Yeah, it was, which is weird because I was talking about such a more controversial topic yesterday. Like yesterday we were criticizing Islam like pretty in depth, right? And we had a lovely little chat, and the chat was really civil. Here I'm just doing a little bit about music, and there's all sorts of grim stuff in there. I don't understand that. So I'm just having a look at chords in G major 7's not going to work, is it? Because I suppose it could work, but I don't really like this. Yeah? I like that. It needs something else, but I'm not sure what yet. I like to not put too many chords in a chord progression. I prefer to have maybe 2, maybe 3 or 4. I suppose it's because I work evenings and all the people that, I don't know. I don't know. G6, that's not going to work, I don't think. I'm just thinking, oh, I just realized I have a chord maker somewhere. It's like a chord player thing, right? So for instance, it just gives me this at the moment. And you literally just drag chords in from the scales and it works it out for you. I kind of like it. I don't care if it's cheating or whatever. I just find it fun. We want G Lydian, so okay, so G major 7, D sus4. Jesse Wells is all right. I like his sort of lyrics and stuff. They're quite good. I'm not like a major fan or anything, but I've seen a couple of his videos. Don't like that. I think. That could work. No, it needs to be a bit more. No, not quite. I don't know what who Rob Europe is. That sounds a bit too conclusionary, which is weird because that's the 6 in the scale. Maybe that could work. So I tend to, I don't know if it's a me thing or if it's an everyone thing, but I tend to end up going with the seconds in scales. I find myself going to seconds a lot, right? Which is weird because a second isn't in like a pentatonic, for instance. That's a modal, like tonic chord, essentially. That has, even though it's all sus chords, There's a very serene. The way I like to think about it, right, is I think about music in terms of imagery. When I'm making music, particularly like these kind of long suites, I like to think about imagery, right? So, What Have We Sown by the Pineapple Thief is a song that I've been a bit obsessed lately. That's got this little it's nice, right? You probably don't want to sit and hear me hum it, right? But see if I can. Hang on. Can you see that? That's the album art for it. I think it's good album art. So that gives you a really good I think this describes the song well, particularly when it gets to this sort of stuff. It feels like a song that has its own anxiety and pays it off really nicely. So I think it does a great job at that. Ah, fuck, I've done the... I'm not much of a folk guy. I like Nick Drake, but I don't massively... I like a bit more rock. I like a bit of drums and some more... Like, for instance, with Nick Drake, I do like Pink Moon, but it's not my favourite. My favourite is 5 Leaves Left. And I just think it's perfect. It's got the perfect level of arrangement for me. Because I don't like the solo acoustic sort of sound just on its own. I find it a bit boring, personally. The same with solo piano, although I'd prefer solo guitar. But yeah, I want to make some kind of imagery with this. And I'm picturing, right, sort of sunset or sunrise, so very golden hues basking over the lands. I'm thinking the sea should be in the distance, right? So we'll put the sea there and then have like all of this bullshit, but we're going to have it obscured by a bit of rock. So we'll put some rocks there, tufts of grass. I'm thinking something like that. I'm not much of a fucking artist, right? But something like that, right? That's a very basic idea of what I want to communicate with in terms of imagery. I want to make the listener feel like they're here, okay? That's the goal. And this could be... I like the idea that it's English feeling. It's very close to home, for me at least, because I am basically English. So yeah, I kind of enjoy that sort of sense of imagery. Kind of similar to that What Have We Sown thing that I just showed you, but a bit more gentle, a bit less dramatic and anxiety inducing, a bit less tension, because there the trees being blown really far gives you this sort, and the fact that it's sort of at a Dutch angle gives you this sort of the world isn't quite right sense. I don't want that. I want the world to feel like it's absolutely perfect in its right place, and that nothing could beat this moment. That's the idea, because G. Lydian is a very sweet and serene and beautiful scale that can convey that kind of imagery, I think. Have a good day, Erwin. Take care. I'm going to do a quick top messages. Thanks. There's this kid, when I was 6, he broke my collarbone, and his mum made him give me all his clothes for some reason. So I've got a load of like surfer dude, skater dude sort of shirts. I'm not really into them, but like the guy was like my size, and I grew into his size. So I've got loads of like designer clothes. I'm not a designer clothes person, but I've got them because of him. I found out he's apparently really he feels really bad about it, and when I heard that, I was like, I didn't mind. I'm glad I broke a bone. It means I could say I've broken a bone. You know, that's fantastic. I was glad. I was a bit irritated that I had to stay in during break with a fucking sling like that for like 2 weeks, and then afterwards I couldn't really run around and play tag. The teacher would sort of come up to me and say, "Stop running so fast," and I'd be like, "Oh, come on, miss." But anyway, none of that matters. What matters is the structure of this song, and I'm trying to think how I can do the drums, because I want really 70s sort of dried out sort of drums. So I'm just I'm gonna have a look at 70s drums. Yeah, that very, but not that kind of rhythm, more like boom, boom, something very light like that. I don't want gated, reverberated kind of drums. I don't want 80s feel. I want 70s, right? Early 70s. So there's a guy who's saying here's how you can get the sound. And I know that this guy has put out a sample pack. Name a football player for an edit. Mo Salah. He's the only footballer I know. But the thing is, this bundle is like $150, and I don't want to spend $150 on MP3s or whatever they are, you know. But at the same time, they are good. Why did you want a football player anyway? Flip a head upside. Well, that's the thing. I don't even have any drums. I might actually today. I'm going into the studio, and I could just spend a good amount of time almost making my own drum pack. All I'd need really is a few variations of cymbals, kicks, blah 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 blah, and I know that thing where you sort of take a bit of cloth, right? I'm gonna use a glove, so I put the glove on the snare, right, and then hit it, right, rather than a, which I don't want. I don't want thick. I don't want sharp. I don't want bright. I want dull, muted, somber, soft. Think stuff like the Grateful Dead. You know, the way that Grateful Dead sound. Let me get up like some of them. So you hear the way this. Hear the drums on that. Listen for the drums. And I'm trying to. The drum sound itself is so singular. There's no reverb to it. It's the backing foundation, and I think this drum sound is the best drum sound that has ever been around, and it's hard to beat it. Obviously, it depends on what kind of style of music you're playing. But for me, right now, I want to make an album that is overall very much a callback to early 70s, not too widdly wee kind of prog, but more sort of Camel, slow, laid back, with the odd intense section. Nothing too like fat and heavy and like the heaviest it would sort of get is like Oasis level heavy, right? There's never anything, and there might be a couple riff bits, right? But nothing sort of beyond that. No metal, no like really intense sort of things. So I'll shut up for a second and just think about the intro, because I have this, because Shine the Crazy Diamond has what is it? That. I want to have something a bit like. And then I just need to think how to conclude it. So. Something like that, right? To resolve it, I want a clean resolution, something semi-loopable. Because that's got a bit of a like. can't do that, even though that sounds good. That's transposing it, modulating it so. So I'm playing it fast because I know how it sounds slow. And with, you know, electric guitar and sustain and all that sort of stuff. So you'd have it maybe up down here as well. Something like that. No, I didn't do anything like that. Everything's self-taught, so anything you hear me say that's like music theory is like I've made up my own way of understanding it. So I wouldn't take any like music theory lessons from anything that I say, but like I like to find conclusions, and I've made my own little thing that's fun. Oh. Okay. So you have that ambient slow section, right? And then eventually, once we have that soft drum section, which has that verse chorus bit, where did I put my section? Here it is. So far, we have this. We've got the ambient section, which is basically... And all that's doing is establishing the tonic note, which I think is... what the fuck are those chords called that are like really weird chords? That's just before the fifth. Tritones, that's it. Like this is all in key. But it doesn't sound right, you know? But it's quite useful for like... So you can get some, like, Lydian is quite diverse. It can do a lot. I think it's also worth pointing out, the reason I'm doing this live stream is because I spent 2 hours working on this fucking song, Big Word, right? In Reaper, like actually getting stuff done. And I got like a lot of this sorted out. And then it crashed, and it turns out that Reaper doesn't auto-save by default. Apparently that's a setting you need to activate. So I was really annoyed at that. And then I went on Google and I Googled like stuff about trying to find the autosave and people complaining about this issue. And a load of people going, well, I'm glad the autosave isn't on. I wouldn't want it to like lock in what I was experimenting with. I'm like, what? I've never heard of a program that doesn't have the autosave on by default. Premiere, right? Adobe Premiere has the autosave, right? And when you start a new project and you find a new folder thing and you make a new folder for it, for the project, it just makes a new folder in that folder called autosave. And that's just done. And then it autosaves like every 10 minutes. Why is that so difficult? When I went into Reaper, it wanted me doing all this like per project, setting up a keyframe and then an action, and then a button for the action. The action needs to be autosave. And then this is project specific, by the way. You can't just make, there must be some way of making it global. But anyway, it's genuinely got me to the point where I'm thinking I might tell Reaper to fuck off and just use a different DAW, because I'm not that dedicated to Reaper. I haven't used it, like I used it on my last album, but I haven't like used it properly in like 4 or 5 months. So I haven't done much of it. I might switch to something like Logic. I used to do all my music in Adobe Audition. I used to just make stuff in that. But yeah, that's why I'm doing this stream, because that crash happened up and I lost 2 hours of work, which can come from like a big, like creative, like inspiration sort of burst of inspiration. And then that happened and I was like, oh, great. So this is me just trying to claw back me ideas, I suppose. So I want the slow, right. Yeah, it was really irritating. It was just a pain in the ass. And so then I thought, right, oh, maybe I'll work on another song that's a bit more finished. And you know, sometimes you go for the guitar and like you're not as good at playing it as you sometimes are. Like sometimes you're playing it and you can't do stuff you were able to do yesterday. And that makes you sort of feel like, what's happening to me, right? I was doing that and then I was sort of thinking, fuck, have I recorded all the good music I'm ever going to record? And that's sort of it. And I know that's not true, obviously, right? But it's sort of it's not exactly something that gets your spirits up, especially because I'm going in the studio later in like I need to be there at 3 and it takes me about half an hour to get there, so I'll probably do this for another like 15 minutes. So yeah, just thinking with this song, because the point of the song is I want to tell the story of how me and my girlfriend kind of met, and I want to make kind of a romantic sort of love song. But I always liked the idea of making one, right? But I never really had anyone to make one for, and now I've kind of got someone to make it for. Because I never liked the idea of like, oh baby, you are so fine, you are so nice, or whatever, and it's just some random generic woman. You know, like One Direction. It's like, oh, you make me go berserk, right? And it's like, no, you're just saying that to fucking everybody, right? I'm making a song for one specific person, for one person that I care about, right? And no one else. Other people can like I don't know, get something out of it and enjoy the story, but it's not about them. I'm not saying I love them. Don't care about them, right? The song's about one person that I really love, so that's the point of it, right? And yeah, I want to tell the story, and I want the song to be a bit of a story, because I'm not good at like lyrics. I get too sort of in my head and try to come up with too much meaning in each sort of phrase, and that ends up making quite pretentious sounding lyrics. So I'd rather just tell a simple, to the fact story. Here's what happens. This bit happens. This bit happens. We go here. We do this. Blah 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 blah. Right. And now I want the story to play out that way, just very straight to the point, rather than like, oh, the roses are in the fucking air and the sun is crimson. Right. It's like, what does that mean? Right. So yeah, I've got another song that I wrote for her called The Limerence. I could play you a wee bit of that if I can find it. Hi, AK. I'm going to do a quick thing for the all messages. I notice I have to sometimes do top messages and then go back to all messages, and then it kind of makes it work. There we are. What's this email? To tell me that I'm live. I know I'm live. So what do I do with this? I think the hardest thing is not having a drum kit or any way of like connecting MIDI. I can't just like come up with a drum beat and then MIDI it just appears, right? I've got to like tap my mouse to make everything work. So it's always made everything take ages. I can't even fucking find it now. None of this. Oh, I gotta go into this. The Limerence. There it is. There we are. I didn't really do anything. Well, I just opened it and it's not open. Why is it not open? Open. Oh, I know that single bit of audio is gone. Oh, I don't know what. There was a sample in this that I don't know where it's disappeared to, so that's fun. So the idea of this song is really basic. I think I've made a video about it, but basically the way it goes is oh, it's because the cable from this is just sitting on the fret, because there's a underneath my phone is a lav mic, which is here, right, and it's wired, and it's not long enough to go underneath without fucking like yeeting my phone towards me, right? So I have to just sort of leave it. So that's where the fret buzz is coming from. I can kind of put it like that. Even then, it still sounds like there's some, doesn't it? A hair there. Maybe that was it. I hear that. I'm noticing a little tiny thing there. Maybe this bridge is state fucked. I don't want to get rid of that. See if I can get rid of it. There is it. Come on. It's just irritating now. Now I've seen it, I know what the issue is. There's this tiny little speck that's like stuck to the bottom of the string. I think I've got to take the whole fucking string off, and I can't be arsed. It gives everything character. And then there was this other riff that I came up with. So with that, imagine like a boom, 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 boom. I can't do both. It's really hard to do both. So I think I've figured out some of my ideas. So here we're going to call this verse chorus. And I think the way it should work, because the way me and my girlfriend met, we met one night, right? So there's both of us going to this event, right? And then we meet at the event, and then we're together for the rest of the day, right? So the way I see it is this ambient section and maybe these first verses are that first, like, me on my own going to the event bit, where like I don't even know that this woman exists yet at this point, right? So that kind of works. And then the verse and the chorus sort of stuff tells the story a little bit. And then we see the meeting, and then, you know, that's a great opportunity to describe how fucking beautiful she is and stuff. So that's a good spot. Right? I'm just thinking in terms of like what would work for the sense of the story. Okay, start from the top. Do you mean like of the song? So far I have ambient section, which is going to introduce the tonic note here. And it's going to introduce the fact that this is the G Lydian scale, right? So that's what the ambient section is doing. And then there's an introduced crescendo section. Let me play the whole intro. I should really be playing on an electric guitar, but I can't be asked to set it up. So there'd be a load of let's just get some generic fucking G Lydian drone just in the background, just so you get an idea of what I mean, right? Okay, so you hear that? Imagine there's some shit like this playing. So you get the idea there, right? Which is, it's basically, I was adding a lot of improvisation and stuff, but you can bring it straight back to that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't sing, right? I need a singer. I did not know what was the known when you were gone. I did not know your life. Some shit like that, right? That's how I imagine the melody. So I do like sort of humming over stuff, because you want to hum things, right? Because you want a hummable melody, right? Like, for instance, I'm always doing the dun 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 dun. No, it's not a grungy song. It's more pristine and pretty. I think of it because maybe there'll be a grungy section or a heavier section, but I want this to feel more like sort of beautiful kind of thing. And then once we've introduced a bit of this drum crescendo-y thing, which would stay over this drone, so the drone's still going on. So that's the thing, I haven't really figured out a lot of this yet. It's all ideas in my head. So you would have something, the drums I had were perfect, but there's something I can't recreate. I did it completely by accident. I had this really weird syncopation to it that worked for the drums. Right, I'll try and come up with the other idea. So what did I have? Let's get to like near the end of this. Right, so here's my idea. There's like 10 seconds left on this drone. Do you mean what was it? Do you mean that then? It's really hard to. I'm not great at singing. You can use any of my music for anything you would like. I am not like, maybe shit comes up in like, because it's all on Spotify and stuff. I've just dropped my pick. That's why I'm disappearing. I can't find it. Where is it? Yeah, oh, there it is. You can use my music in literally anything, right? Some of it's on Spotify, so it might come up with like some kind of copyright thing. I don't know if it does, but I came up with a royalty-free suite, and the idea was I just like music being as accessible as possible, and for people to use it. So yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, you please use my music in anything you want, and feel free to. You don't need to ask. Favorite chord is this. This isn't really in. It actually is. I love this. I'm not sure. I think of it as like E minor on the first four, and then a little bit of D major there. It's probably like maybe. So it's an E minor, but there's also a 7. That's a 7, and then there's a 2. So I don't know. E minor 7 2. I don't know how this works. I can't move any further this way. That's the issue. So I'll try and do it this way. You can watch whatever you want. So that could be good for this slow drums section that comes in after this crescendo. All right. I think something like that. Well, it's got a little bit of a tension to it. E minor 7 sus 2. That sounds like it could be right. And then this G thing, I think it's a G major 7. Any scale tips? I like messing around with the seconds. So something like that. So yeah, after this crescendo section, a bit of a cliffhanger, sort of. You know when a crescendo is like boom, 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 right? And then a little tiny bit of silent, maybe some kind of modular synth, like boom, 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 boom. Something simple that we can then build from. Like we're stripping the sound all the way back to the core, and then slowly adding new elements in terms of this tension that comes from that. prior to that, that had, so you're using the G major 7, and then turning it into a G major, and then an A sus2. Now you need to have something like that to give it a bit of a resolution. And then that can maybe come in a different part. Right, thank you, man. I really loved the video, and I got a new guitar whilst away. C sharp minor jam. C sharp minor was probably my favorite scale before I found G Lydian. That's sort of more like this. Someone mentioned the girl on the balcony, and that's in C sharp minor. How does that one go? I need a capo. I don't have a capo to hand, so it's. I can't play the chords without the capo, but it's sort of like. Something like that. I can't remember how it works. Oh, there we are. Yeah. Sometimes I play chords and I don't know, then record a run through chord AI app, and that comes up with, and that helps you sort of join the dots. Something like that. But again, the drums need to be very slow. I start playing it too fast because I'm just jamming around and having fun with it. But I think after the slow drums and acoustic bit, it should then go into something. Someone mentioned grunge, and I don't want it to be grungy, but it's so annoying. In the studio last week, me and the guy that I'm there with, we had a little jam, and it came up with this riff that was sort of like. It was something like that, right? I'm doing it way too fast, but it was something like that, and I think that would be quite fun to lead into for some kind of first instrumental section, let's call it. Doesn't have to necessarily be instrumental, but I'm thinking about it in terms of we've established the atmosphere, we've established the mood, and in terms of the music, we've figured out our playground, right? And then we start doing something in terms of the story with it, and then we go into this first instrumental section. So I'm going to call it, let's call it G Lydian riff section, right? So not anything too, heavy or anything like that, but it would certainly be maybe a bit crunchy. We're introducing less, we're moving away from the clean sound a little bit here and getting more towards something that could be rock, rather than, I don't know. Because with this slow drums and acoustic section, we're basically at like a very, very soft kind of atmosphere, right? Very airy. And there's a bit of tension in here because the idea is, say it from my point of view, it's me going to this event, right? And in my mind, right, at the time, I was kind of a little bit like, I don't know if I can really be bothered with this event. I'm just going to go, and then I'll try and get out of it early, right? But then I met my now girlfriend for the first time, and suddenly that feeling kind of went away very, very, very quickly. So I want to do something with that feeling, that transition in feeling, in terms of the music. So that would probably have to go somewhere around here, right? I don't know if you can see that. So that little line that I've done there, that was meant to be a heart and I fucked it up. Actually, no, it should be a circle for now. Let's call it a circle because we're not together yet or anything like that. So we've just met. So that little circle is introducing the riff section. Now the song is in like full swing, right? You can't say that this is the beginning of the song anymore. We're proper into it at this point. I'd say we're probably about 7 minutes in at this point, 6-7 minutes. So the ambient introduction stuff, that's probably like 4 minutes. And then the slow drum section, that's probably like 3 minutes sort of thing. And then this riff probably goes on for maybe a minute, and it should build into what is what I want to know. So let me get it back again. So we had the idea. I'm going to do a sort of speed run of the structure so far. Right? That's basically what we have so far. And I feel like from there, one of the ideas I had for this song, right, and I'll explain it with a little bit of music theory. So G Lydian, right, with that tonic note, if you move the root note down, have we established that we're not in G Lydian anymore? Right, so now we're in F sharp Phrygian, and it's the exact same notes all the way up and down the scale, right? And the same goes if we go further down. So now we're in E Dorian, right? And you can go further down. Now we're in D major, right? And you can just do that for every mode of the scale. So G Lydian is also A mixolydian. It's also B minor. Right, it's also C sharp Locrian. Wait, what? C sharp Locrian. So it's got all of that going on. Then it's D major, E, Dorian, F sharp, Phrygian. I don't think we're going to need to use all of them, but at this point where we're at, we can maybe do no, hang on. We could do we've really built ourselves into the G Lydian oh, what was it? E, C sharp minor, C, E, D7. Oh, hang on. Ah, thank you very much, Metal Fingers. That song. That's a very weird one because it played around with tempo. So like the choruses were all faster than the verses, and it's also one of those songs that's really minimal. It was basically just. There's capo on the 3rd fret, so I don't have capo on, so it's harder for me to play it. So, yeah, it was a bit of a sad one, that song. This is kind of the opposite. This is a hopeful song. And I feel like it could, because we've introduced this kind of happy, dreamy, riffy energy to it. So I think a Mixolydian would be quite fun, because something like that. So, and then we just need a bit of a chance to maybe not A Mixolydian, maybe B minor makes more sense. So you do something like that, and then you have established B minor for a bit. You mainly need to just establish where your root is. Your root note can change. So it sounds way different from what we were doing before, right? But those were the exact same notes as up here. So I like the idea of then, let's call it modulating for now. It's not modulating, but let's just call it modulating. So this is what we'll call the B minor bit. And I think here is a good opportunity for, because we're not really established like a guitar solo or anything like that, or any kind of instrument lead yet. Obviously we will. At the moment I'm thinking of the bedrock, but I think in the B minor, something like a clean, sort of bluesy kind of solo, not massively long. Let's call it bluesy solo. Something a bit, we're on the happier side of B minor, because B minor doesn't necessarily have to sound miserable, right? something maybe like that. And that could be quite fun. And I think from there, where did I put my pen? You want something, so now we're probably like 10 minutes in at this point, right? And from there, I want a new section, something that's a bit more jammy, a bit more high-end, sort of intense, bringing back the energy from that earlier crescendo, right? And then we're going to have that, and we're going to have a similar sort of thing to the crescendo, right? But this time, right, we're actually going to pay it off, right? So here I've put crescendo-ish. It'll be like kick and snare rhythm sort of thing as per normal, but building in intensity. Building in intensity. And then we need to pay it off, right? And that is when I think we could spend this crescendo bringing ourselves back to the G Lydian and using that G Lydian to give us something new, because I've done loads of these like solo sort of things, but there's loads of fun you can have, sort of I think we could introduce that. And I'd love to, you know, have a final little section that brings us. And that's when we could slowly bring it back down, right? That's what I'm thinking anyway. Just going to do a quick turning it to top messages and then all messages. I just have to keep doing that for no particular reason. So yeah, now we're going to do G Lydian. Let's call it return. What's the word that I'm thinking of? Lead. Well, that was a bit more fast. Let's call it fast solo. Doesn't have to be a guitar. It could be anything. Maybe it could be organ, you know. So now I need to somehow. I guess I need to. I've filled the page out. That's the issue. So this is what we got. So ambient, introduce the crescendo, then we bring down the intensity, then we introduce the slow drums, right? And we've got verse, chorus, and there's a bit of anxiety here because I don't know what's going to happen this night, and I kind of can't be bothered with the night. But then, bam, I meet this incredibly wonderful person, right? And suddenly things don't feel so sort of anxious with that major seven, with that seventh note, right? So we've moved on from that, and now everything feels a bit more stable, but it's kind of dreamy, right? So you can have the uncertainty making use of the tonic note there, and then you can use the tonic note here for just a quick flavor to give it that dreaminess, right? And then from there, we're building up an intensity a little bit more, bringing it up to some kind of actual full rock or something orchestra sort of arrangement, right? That's when we start introducing, because what's the... What's that? That's B, C sharp, B. So. Sounds like a fucking sitar. Sounds sick. It's, my finger is causing some fret. Oh, I can't do it anymore. It just lost it. But there was a little bit of a rattle that was coming off of this. Something. It was just giving it a really nice... You know when you play a banjo, it's got the drone note. But anyway, I'm just trying to think. So the B minor is the third. So I think G Lydian, because that's the third, we could come back to G Lydian. And then maybe after I saw 10 minutes in Hustle Like It's My Last Name. That's all I saw. Sorry. Could use D major there, because logically at this point in the story, things are going swimmingly, right? And everything is serene, and the world feels fantastic and beautiful, right? And D major in particular would convey that message quite well. So we'll call it D major scale. And I think you could have, we could bring it down a little bit for that. Just I'm gonna do yes. Hell yes. Just responding to someone. Yep, sorted. Oh, what is it? People keep texting me. Stop texting me. All right. I practiced a bit of the fingering idea. I've completely forgotten it, to be honest. I've mainly been focusing just on sorting this big word out, right? So you could have. I'm not ignoring, by the way, Wormwood start. I haven't properly practiced fracture. I did listen to all the Lizard though the other day, and that's kind of got me more in a King Crimson-y mood. All right, so now we don't need the G Lydian drone. We can do D major drone. So let's find a D major drone. I don't want cello. I don't want anything that would give me any kind of anxiety. This is serenity. And then I feel like it'd be very, very easy to turn this back into G Lydian. Thumb note. Maybe play the first note as a chord and then let them ring out. Ooh. Sounds like Misunderstood by Dream Theater. That must be what they do. Anyway. So what would I do there? Because I think from there it would be very easy for this, because I want this D major scale bit to be more in the ambient realm. So we're gonna call this ambient. D major scale, and then from there we're going to say morph into G Lydian, because G Lydian and D major have a lot in common, right? Because the D is the fifth of the G, right? And the fifth and the root are kind of the two most important notes of the scale. And then I think because they both have that major sort of quality to them with that sharpened seventh, so you only have to go down a half step for the seventh, you can easily relate the two of them back into each other and then introduce a little bit of tension for the finale, because you need some kind of emotional climax, I suppose. And that's when I think it would be fun to have some kind of brass band, right? I really want to put a brass band in this final section, right? And this would be the heroic kind of return to form at the end of something, you know, you have that payoff. So let's call it emotional and musical payoff with a brass band. Oh, Jergsel says, hey man, it's a bit off topic. I'm new here, but I thank you for your Lessons in Confidence series. I've been going through some shit and it helped. I don't know why I said it like that. Why did I read it like that? I've been going through some shit and it really helped me rethink certain things about my life. Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm glad that these lessons things help people. It means a lot. I don't know. It really does. It's sort of interesting to see how it kind of helps people to get back on track. And I hope that in the long term, we can get some kind of movement going of people that just try and think in this positive kind of way. With a brass band. The brass band would probably reincorporate whatever our opening melody is, right? That. And then from there, I think it needs some kind of rise in intensity, because we could go two ways. We could go the echoes route of having it sort of die down and slowly kind of disappear into the ether, or we have the option of building the crescendo up and up and up and up, right, into something new, into some new world. Something that I really like about What Have We Sown by the Pineapple Thief, right? It's an epic 27-minute fucking song. Is it starts off introducing all this anxiety, and the way that it is, it's a very down tempo, very unconclusionary sort of piece, right? But then by the end of it, it feels like it's taking you like uphill. It feels like it's taking you far away from home. It almost like, I don't know, it's like the end of 28 Days Later, right? He starts off in 28 Days Later. He doesn't know where he is. Everything all feels weird to him, right? He knows where he is, but he doesn't know where everyone else is. And then as time goes on, he starts to understand this world and like how things are going on. And he gains confidence and he ends up coming out on top. It's kind of following that trajectory in the way that I think about it. Maybe because the music sounds similar. I hope that made some level of sense. I feel like in this, I don't think the higher up thing would work. I think we need to go back down. So if we're going back down, right? Because the emotional payoff and reprise, which is what it basically is, because we've got that little ambient section. Yeah, this is a very long song that I'm making here. I like long form music. Hustle is like my last name. I love long form stuff because I like being taken on a journey with my music. I like that element, almost like watching a film. Is it? Oh God, yeah, Godspeed. They did. It's East Hastings, isn't it? That's in 28 Days Later. That's a fantastic one. That's got a really great melody in it with the. I can't remember what key it's in, but it's like. something like that. It's more like. Cut that up. Something like that. So yeah, I think in this one we want a bit of a. We'll probably bring back the riff section, that G Lydian riff, which was here. So these two things have some kind of connection point. So those two are kind of connected, right? That to that. I think that's kind of important because it's introducing the tonality of everything that came before, and that's kind of the conclusion, right? And then from there, we could probably go back to this. That actually makes a lot of sense. I like that. That's such a shit arrow. Right, so this is probably the final section. I'm going to just say echoes style slow end. I know what I mean. But it'll be obviously recontextualized slightly. So what I'm talking about there is, so maybe here, instead of having that G major 7, like we're having earlier in the song, instead just have it just be G major. And your Nasa, I would say, I'm going to repeat my recommendation of What Have We Sown by the Pineapple Thief, right? I think it's, honestly, I don't like the second half quite as much as the first half, but Echoes by Pink Floyd is probably my all-time favorite song, right? And the first 12 minutes of What Have We Sown has the potential to be better than Echoes, right? I genuinely think it had the potential to go further, right? But I think it fumbles the ball a bit in the second half. It never gets bad, right? I just think that the jam section that comes in around the sort of 16-minute mark is not like overwhelmingly powerful like some of the stuff earlier on is. And then there's another jam section that comes in afterwards. And I feel like it needed like another verse in this portion of the song, and it just kind of doesn't have one. And then it goes down an interesting musical rabbit hole in terms of the story that it's telling. But I don't know, I kind of tapped out by that point because it is a really long, and even like 27 minutes is long even for me. I think I want Big Word to be maybe 21 minutes, maybe 22. Or maybe something like 17, 18, in that realm, right? I don't want it to get too long. I don't want to get too bogged down in like each section lasting forever and being its own world, right? Each of these things is quite simple. So you got the ambient, introduce the crescendo, this and this combine, right? And that's the end. This is the second section. This combines with the reprise. Then we got this B minor bluesy section, which is essentially its own kind of thing, right? Where little licks from it would probably be reincorporated after the fact. Then we've got it building in intensity, right? Which stays in B minor, I think. And that is probably the most intense section of the song. So I'm going to put a little thing saying most heavy section. This is the closest we get to anything metal. And even though I don't think it'll be full metal, it'll be, maybe like crunchy, distorted, but not like Metallica. And then G Lydian for something that comes back fast. So we've built up speed with this. I want to build up speed, right? And from there, now we've got the speed, we can pay off the speed, right? In a similar way to the crescendo. So we've got a crescendo there that died in a cliffhanger, and now we've got a crescendo that goes on for a longer period of time and pays off in some kind of I think a fast, heroic, anthemic kind of solo would work there. That could then die down into our ambient section, which goes back to D major, and then as it comes back up, because we'll need a little bit of crescendo there, but like a different kind of one. I'm not talking about a full one like we had before. Oh wow. I'm very intrigued by this, Happy Draws. Johnny, I'm developing a comic manga character inspired by you. I already posted the Girl on the Balcony solo animation test on my channel. Thanks for the permission for your music. Anytime, and you can use my music for anything you want. I'm not someone who wants to gatekeep stuff for material and things like that, because the way I think of it, right, is I've pirated movies, right? So I don't really see why people shouldn't pirate my stuff, you know? It's, give and take, essentially, right? I just don't see the issue. And, we already live in this world where you already expect everything for free anyway. So we need to do something about that. And I don't think chasing after people for rights to things and going, you can't repurpose my material in this creative way, I don't think that's the way of doing it. I think we need some kind of economic change, but that's for a whole nother video. Anyway, so we've got the D major ambient section, and then comes into the G Lydian bit, and then we got the emotional payoff of a brass band with musical reprises coming in from before, right? And then we've got some kind of echo style sort of end. So so we'd also need a little bit of that, and then boom, dun 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 dun. I'm gonna go back to my chord player and see what I could use. Let's try. How does it go? Oh, what the fuck's a... I've totally forgotten how to play a B sus4 on a guitar. I'm an idiot. Right? I do know how to, and the second I see this thing... What the fuck is that? That's just a... Okay. Ooh, it ends really nicely on an A sus2. So this could be G major 7, B sus4. Oh, what was the other one I fucking put? I have had horrible stomach pains at 4 a.m. It's shit, isn't it? No, I don't like that. So B sus4. No. Ooh, that could work. Let's try that. No, not an A sus, but I like that. That could work. Yeah. So D and then E minor. So that could be an interesting one. What's that? That's a 1, 3, 5, 6. 1, 3, 5, 6 is our slow section. So if I Wurlitzer, and it gives me little styles. So let's give it strumming. So something like that. No, start on the G major 7. I like that. I think after this it needs a G. So on the second round of it, we should do the same kind of thing, but maybe alter it slightly. I don't know how many guitar layers would be in the song. I imagine it being quite pretty, so I imagine there'll probably be quite a few bits I'll have to double track. There'll be an acoustic guitar, that'll definitely be double tracked, probably some 12-string acoustic guitar. I'll probably do most of it as 12-string and not bother with the 6-string. Then there'll be like electric guitar, rhythm, lead. There'll be that Atmos thing that's doing the ambient section. I'll need a crunchy guitar. So we're looking at probably like 7, 8 layers throughout the song, but I don't think we're going to have any more than 4 at one point. And then there'll be like organ. I love organ. There's the brass band, as I mentioned. What's in a brass band? Let's have a look at brass band. I just want to see what the usual things would be. Give me a basic idea. All right. So a British style one has 1 soprano cornet. It's got 3 cornets. I don't even know what a cornet is. It's like a trumpet. So there's like 10 trumpets, and then there's some horns. So trumpets, horns. Yeah, I think we need more horn. Maybe a couple bits of trumpet. But that's like at the end, right? That's to sort of establish, like, we're here, we're happy, we're sort of, I don't want to say triumphant. It's not that. It's more contentedness. It's more being blissfully in the moment without any distractions. And I feel like horns would do that a bit better. We want serenity. Well, I'm going to just example of every brass instrument. I just want to get an idea on what one I want. How do different brass instruments sound? Can you actually track each individual string? Okay.
Hey, I'm Julian, and I play the trumpet.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Sophie, and
Stop introducing yourselves.
At the end. Each has a cup-shaped mouthpiece that you blow into, or rather buzz your lips into. You change notes by either...
Okay, I don't need to know how to play a brass instrument. I just want to know what they sound like. There we are. This one looks better. It's only 2 minutes long. I can play chess. I'm not very good. Flutes, definitely. I love a flute. Flute's probably one of my favorite instruments. So not much of that. That kind of thing. That kind of thing. No. They all sound the same. There we are. Soprano cornet. There we are. Soprano cornet G Lydian. Or just Lydian. There we are. Someone's playing it in Lydian. That's just him going up and down the scale. I need something that gives me a sense of Lydian. Okay, I'm not going to get anything. But yeah, I think that kind of thing at the end. Mellotron flutes. I'll have a look at that. Mellotron flute. There's this C Lydian horn flutarina. I like that. I like that sound. That feels more like the intro to me. There's this. Yeah, this kind of sounds towards the end. Because I think we've done guitar solos enough in the beginning. And I think you can't just do guitar solo. We've had slow, bluesy, emotional guitar solo. And we've had a faster, let's call it triumph. This one could feel triumphant, right? This one is sort of like you feel on top of the world. You know when you first sort of like, oh, I've got a girlfriend. Ah, this is amazing. That kind of feeling, you know? That like giddiness that you get. I think that's what that sort of fast solo is, right? And then that's what that ambient D major G Lydian stuff is it's showcasing, it's representing contentedness, the happiness, and the lack of what's the word, overthinking that comes from those first sort of couple weeks of being together, you know. And then the emotional payoff is kind of finishing out the structure of the song, sort of showing that these two people will be fine and that they're going to go off into forever, essentially. And that's why I think actually going back down into an echo style sort of slow finish rather than get some big finale of a big final note. I think that it'd be better to go down and down and down, like two people like arm in arm walking down a path into the sunset, as if the camera stays there. You know, and they're just getting further and further away, but they're still together. That's my idea, anyway. What do you think about a chord solo? How do you mean a chord solo? Do you mean like... I can't do it properly because I was a really weird angle, but do you mean like playing chords and then incorporating little notes around it, little flutters and stuff? I think that's kind of the idea. Just gonna do a quick top messages to all messages thing because I have to keep doing this. Also, I need to leave. I actually lied about when I'm going to the studio, but now I really do need to get going soon. But I think we've made a lot of progress. I've really come to understand what this is. So I'm glad I did this little live stream. Even though I had a bit of a rocky start with some knobheads coming in, I feel like we're getting close to that, right? And at the end of the song, there's, imagine like two people there, that kind of thing, right? You can't really see them, but they're there, right? So that's the idea. They're sort of going off into the sunset, and that can close us out. And then maybe we could have some, you know how in echoes it has that sort of noise that comes in over the fade out? And I don't think it's even a fade out, they just play quiet and quiet, like nothing, which I can do. I know how to do that. That's fine. And I think bringing back some kind of resolution note, similar-ish to the intro, but happier. I think the intro should show some kind of, let's call it anxiety, tension, right? You're uncertain, right? And I think that the finale should have certainty. That's the general idea. So yeah, I'm gonna finish that. If that's my work for today done. So that is can you actually see it? I don't think you can. I think it's all mirrored for you. I think a chord solo is playing a bunch of chords. Do you mean sort of like? I can't do it because I'm at a really weird angle, but that kind of thing. But less. Ow! I hit my hand on it. Less shit. So yeah, I'm really quite happy with that because I said to her that I was going to make this song like months and months ago, and I started to get worried that like, why have I not done it yet? Why am I procrastinating on this? Like, I don't want it to get further and further along, and then it's like years down the line, and I've still not made the song. I want to actually make it, you know, and it's an important song to me. It's in my head very, very vividly, and I know that I just need to figure out how to translate it to a general audience. That's the idea. So yeah, that's everything. I'm gonna head out. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I found the capo, by the way. It was sat right in front of me. It was sat there the whole time. All right, so fantastic. Anyway, take care, everybody. Bye-bye, and enjoy the rest of your summer holidays, even though it's April. No, it's May, isn't it? Yeah, right. Bye.